We have a hurricane in the Atlantic Basin, a tropical storm in the eastern Pacific, and a couple of features we're watching. Good Tuesday evening. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics. Here's the Atlantic and the Pacific. On the left side of your screen in the Pacific, we have Tropical Storm Kenneth. Shouldn't become a hurricane. It's going to move on out. Not even going to have to worry about it. We have an interesting feature we're going to be watching here off the southeast coast over the next couple of days, that some of the computer models want to make a tropical cyclone, or at least a subtropical cyclone, and move towards the Carolinas. We're going to watch this area. We have our Hurricane Nigel, which is a fat donut in the Atlantic, and then we have a wave leaving Africa that might do something as it moves to the west or the west-northwest. Let's start with Hurricane Nigel as of 5 p.m. Atlantic time, which is also Eastern time. From the National Hurricane Center, it was at 31.8 north, 54.7 west, winds of 100 miles per hour. It's moving north-northwest at 14, and the pressure recorded by the aircraft flying out there was 974 millibars. So they zigzagged around, and they found out that the winds are about 100 miles an hour, and the pressure is 974 millibars. The good news with this storm, unlike Hurricane Lee, which took his old time dragging to the west-northwest and then eventually moving up and out, this hurricane's going to move out much further east and much quicker, and it won't be nearly as strong. It should peak out sometime tonight or early on Wednesday at about 110 miles an hour, so a high-end Category 2, just below major hurricane strength of Category 3. It could get close, it might get over, but right now it doesn't look like it will. When you look at the satellite imagery, this is a textbook example of a Category 2 hurricane. When you see the fat tire donut like this, and they're kind of shaggy still with the ragged eye, but it's still impressive looking, that's usually about 100 mile an hour, 105 mile an hour hurricane, and that is what the aircraft have been responding to and receiving the information saying that it's 100 miles an hour. It does look impressive. However, it's right on the edge of wind shear that's going to begin to weaken it, not to mention cooler waters. So the time for Nigel to intensify is rapidly running out. When we look at the wind shear map, this is what I'm talking about. The interaction with the trophiness, there is a lot of strong wind shear here just to the northwest of the hurricane, and so he's right on the edge there between the favorable winds and the unfavorable, so the window of opportunity to become a major hurricane isn't going to be around beyond 12 hours or so from now. So if Nigel's going to become a major hurricane, they have to do it right now. There's a better look at it. Again, if it was underneath this, it would have an even better environment for strengthening. So it is getting a little bit of wind shear, but not enough to stop it from becoming a powerful hurricane of at least 100 miles per hour. So Nigel, we're going to watch it get a little stronger and then turn, and it should turn well away from the island of Bermuda. You guys are not going to have to deal with it. However, we're watching a couple of other features. The first one is this tropical wave that will be leaving Africa, and that's a high chance for development. And then we have a second system here off the eastern seaboard. Now, this is going to be a non-tropical area of low pressure that should form off Florida, and then it could become subtropical and bring gusty winds and rain and surf to the Carolinas and the mid-Atlantic. The computer models, these are the European ensembles, show a system there impacting areas of the mid-Atlantic, and then another system off Africa moving probably as a hurricane, generally in the same direction that Nigel and Lee moved over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to watch both of these. The GFS model, same type of deal, shows a system here impacting areas of the Carolinas and mid-Atlantic. However, they're much more uncertain with our system off Africa, with a much larger area of potential development and movement. And then watch here in the Caribbean, the GFS showing some indications of development by the end of the month. So that's the area we'll watch come October. Right now, there's nothing there to be concerned about. Here's the visible satellite image of most of the continental United States and Mexico, and there's some stormy weather here in the Gulf of Mexico. Shouldn't be an issue. Here's what we're going to watch, the tail end of this frontal boundary, which is the trough moving off the eastern seaboard, helping to weaken the ridging and push Nigel out to sea. Sometimes at the tail end of these fronts, we could get something kind of spinning up, and that's what the models are indicating, that this area here will eventually develop into a subtropical storm and move very close to or over North Carolina and the mid-Atlantic. So if you are going anywhere from, Cape Canaveral all the way up the eastern seaboard, keep an eye on the tropics over the next couple of days and we'll keep you posted. Here's the African coastline. Watch this wave we've been watching spinning. Look at that blowing up just as it leaves the coast. This is the one that has a 70% chance of development from the National Hurricane Center as it moves to the west and then eventually the west-northwest. Whether or not it becomes a tropical storm or a hurricane, we just don't know. But if it does, it will likely remain out at sea, but is so far out there we just don't know. Right now, it would probably move straight towards the west. So we're going to watch all these features as the sun goes down over the Atlantic. It has been a busy hurricane season. We had one hurricane impact in the United States, and that was Hurricane Idalia making landfall as a Category 3 in the Big Bend of Florida. We did have a lot of major hurricanes, including Franklin and Lee, Nigel getting close, but all of them seem to be moving out, which is great news. We'll see if we get another storm off Africa and if we could get that to turn out. However, we might have development closer to home, and then as we get towards October, watch this region here for potential development as time goes on. Kenneth in the Eastern Pacific, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 15.1 north, 121.0 west, winds of 45 moving west at 16. Should peak as a moderate tropical storm and then dissipate by the weekend, way out there over the open Pacific between the Baja and Hawaii, the middle of nowhere. Not going to have to deal with Kenneth. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on the tropics, and I'll talk to you next time.